Hey guys, welcome to Dogforge. My name's Paul, and welcome back to our Mordenkainen Presents Monsters of the Multiverse Multimedia Medley. Or us going through the races, comparing how they've changed and providing some additional commentary and combinations that you might want to use in your games. Today we'll be taking a look at the Orc, so without further ado, let's charge straight towards it. So, the Orc is one of the races that benefited from new art, and I have to say it is some of the more confusing art, as Orcs are now blue, for some reason. There is also some degree of ice magic going on in this image, so it's possible this is more of an individual Orc's appearance change due to their class choices, but it's confusing art, in my opinion, for what is meant to represent the new Orc going forward. Nonetheless, new art is good art when you are paying for a book. Now, for the ASIs, languages, height, weight, age, all that stuff, that is going to be the standard boilerplate changes. So the ASIs are going to be +2 and +1 of your choice, or 3 +1s of your choice. This replaces the Orc, which was originally published in Volo's Guide to Monsters, Strength +2 and Constitution +1. As some of you may remember, the Orc was controversially originally published with a negative intelligence modifier as well. However, that was errated out of existence quite some time ago. For languages, you get Common and one language you and your DM agree is suitable for your campaign instead of Common and Orc. And you're gonna be roughly as tall as and live as long as a human. Now into the actual specifics for an Orc. So you are a humanoid, medium size with a 30 feet movement speed, and our first new ability is Adrenaline Rush. Now Adrenaline Rush is replacing the aggressive trait, a much less problematic name and an interesting change overall. You can take the dash action as a bonus action. You can do this a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus once, and then you regain all uses when you finish a long rest. And every time you use this trait, you gain a number of temporary hit points equal to your proficiency bonus. This is replacing aggressive, which was as a bonus action you could move up to your speed towards a hostile creature you can see or hear, and you must finish your move closer to the enemy than you started. So this is a more versatile trait, even if it is more limited in uses. The temporary hit points is nice. It is starting to feel that we're getting somewhat of a temporary hit point saturation. That, several years ago they were like, we should use temporary hit points more, and then they just didn't stop. What's a little frustrating about this is that this is one of the abilities where the temporary hit points are so small that it kind of feels I mean, so for most characters you're going to get 2 or 3 temporary hit points. Most characters don't see, level 9 and above, and even if you do go 9 and above, it's still going to be relatively little. I personally would have preferred seeing this be twice your proficiency bonus. It makes it feel more worthwhile, it's not going to break anything, but the primary reason you're using this is the dash action, so any degree of temporary hit points is going to help you out. I would just prefer to be more substantial. Dark vision of 60 feet, that is the same as original. Powerful build, that is also going to be exactly the same as the Volo's version. You count as one size larger for determining your character capacity and the weight you can push, drag, or lift. However, things have changed a little bit here. So we now get Relentless Endurance, which you'll be familiar from the Half-Orc. When you are reduced to 0 hit points but not killed outright, you drop to 1 hit point instead, and you can do that once per long rest. This makes so much more sense, seeing as the Half-Orc has a trait presumably from their Orcish heritage, but the Orc didn't have it. What's a little sad to see go, in my opinion, is that the original version had, this might have been an errata after maybe Wildmount came out, but it had Primal Intuition, where you have proficiency in 2 skills from a list of animal handling, insight, intimidation, medicine, nature, perception, and survival. I personally enjoy getting skills from races. I think that's nice, and I think that, in my personal opinion, having a naturey bent to the orc was not problematic, but I can see how if you're trying to strip away as much assumed identity as possible, then giving them something that is more generic to the half-orc is probably the right way forwards for how they're looking. Overall, the orc is more flexible, it's more usable, it's more friendly for whatever character build you want to use, whereas before it would have been primarily best for strength-based melee fighters. I still think that this is a overall improvement, particularly Relentless Endurance and the temporary hit points you're going to get from Adrenaline Rush. Not a huge swing, not a huge improvement, but this is most definitely an improvement. But that's just my rambling a little bit. As for how you might want to use an orc, I think an orc would be quite well suited to, say, a barbarian role. The dash is going to help you get into melee more reliably, so you're less likely to lose your rage from not being able to engage new targets. The temporary hit points are going to work quite well with rage resistance, or if you are anything but a bear totem and you don't get many resistances, the temporary hit points are going to help offset any non-bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage you might take. Also a great choice for fighters. I would avoid rogue a little bit just because there is obvious overlap between adrenaline rush and cunning action, but I think a fighter, barbarian, and maybe even a ranger would be quite compelling with the orc. But that's just what I think. What do you think of the new orc? Are you excited to play it? Do you prefer the previous version? Would you like to have seen some skills? Let us know in the comments section down below, and like this video if you liked watching it and enjoyed the opinions within. Subscribe if you haven't already, and until next time, I've been Paul, and I'll see you at the Forge.